Dr. Robynne, here's where I want to go next. One thing that I want to talk about with you today is poop. Like, what should we be looking for? What's healthy? What's not?
My favorite thing to talk about. And Mel, I am so curious about your poop. If you are willing to share, I know I'm not the only one who wants to know, like, what are Mel Robbins' bowel habits like?
Well, I'm the kind of person, you ask the question, I'm going to tell you. So I'm happy to talk about my poop.
I have a feeling that you have wonderful poos because you have this glow. You seem really healthy.
Do you really want to know?
Yes, I really want to know.
So I am a once a day person.
Excellent.
I typically go in the morning and I have one of those little stools that
the squatty potty.
Yeah, that you put up. And if I can't find a stool, like if I'm at a hotel, I pull the little garbage can over and stick my feet up. I have like I think it's healthy. I mean, I don't even know what healthy poop is. I just know that when it comes out kind of in one shape,
perfect,
and it's somewhat soft and held together, and there's not a lot of strange objects in it, that's probably healthy. I don't like it. Like if I have a situation where I'm not doing well and I'm super stressed, I might go a day without pooping, but typically never more than a day or two. And then when that happens, it looks like milk duds. And I know I'm in trouble and I'm not healthy. How am I doing, Doc?
Stool nirvana, baby.
Is that what
you got it? Stool nirvana. You hit so daily, good color, formed. And it also sounds like you feel good when it comes out, right? There's that feeling of like, yeah, I emptied, I detoxed, I'm good to go.
And I'm pretty efficient. Like I don't spend a lot of time in there. I can get in, I can get out. But that does beg the question, how often should you be going?
How often do you eat? Do you eat every day?
Of course.
At least once a day?
Yes.
You should be eliminating once a day. So this idea, we have this textbook definition that it's, 3 or more bowel movements a week is normal. But if you're going under 3, you're constipated. It's a very arbitrary number. And when we think about constipation, we're usually thinking about things like consistency. Is the stool hard or is it soft? How much is coming out? But it should absolutely be a daily thing because that's what it is. It's elimination. It's eliminating dead blood cells. It's eliminating bacteria, toxins, etc., undigested food particles. That stuff is not supposed to be gumming up your colon and just sitting there, right?
Everybody that does not go number 2 once a day just leaned in and thought, oh gosh, well, what do I do? So if you're somebody that is not going once a day, that doesn't have kind of a satisfying experience with this or kind of reliable, what are the first couple steps that you want somebody to do?
I think the first thing, again, is recognizing that this should be daily. Now, that being said, if you skip a day here and there, your traveling schedule is a little bit different, that's nothing to worry about. But how can we help people go every day? So I want people to consider a couple things. What they're putting in, how they're stimulating the gut, and that's primarily with movement, and what they might be doing that's slowing things down, the gut motility. So what you're putting in, you want to make sure you're putting in enough fiber. You want to make sure you're putting enough water, liquid. It's plumbing. The GI tract, it's pipes. In fact, a plumber was at my house one day fixing something and I was standing over him and he kept looking at me and he was like, are you checking what I'm doing? I'm like, no, we're just in the same business. You just make a lot more money than I do. So I'm just looking at what you're doing here. But it's plumbing. It's one long pipe from north to south, about 30 feet long, and things get clogged along the way. And what do you do when your pipe is clogged? Thin liquids, lots of water. So I tell people my rule of thumb, half your body weight in ounces of water as a minimum. And that's just plain water. We don't need electrolytes in it. We don't need flavoring. Those things often are irritating to the gut. So just plain water, half your body weight in ounces of water as a minimum. And that makes a tremendous difference. I can probably solve 50% of the constipation I see in my office just by getting people to hydrate.
Wow.
And by the way, as you know, great for your skin and everything else, right? So many of us are walking around dehydrated.
So takeaway number 1 for me already is thinking about your gut system as a 30-foot long plumbing system.
Yes.
That starts with your throat, moves all through your body, and right out the chute at the, at the bottom. And that half of your body weight is what you should be hydrating with, just plain water every day. And as a medical doctor specializing in this, 50% of constipation issues can be solved by simply hydrating correctly?
I mean, it's a generalization, but 50% of the people I see in my office who are bloated and constipated and, things are sluggish, when I get them to really start hydrating, things perk right up. I also want to point out that the female plumbing system is very different from the male plumbing system.
Oh, how?
And that's because of 3 main reasons. So if you have had a colonoscopy, if you're 45 or over, you should have had a colonoscopy. And you may have been told, particularly if you're a woman, that you have either a redundant colon or a tortuous colon or a twisted colon. And the reason that's more common in women is because of anatomical differences. So number 1, we have a longer digestive tract. Our colons on average are about 3 to 5 inches longer.
Why?
Well, first of all, it may not seem like a lot.
It seems
like 3
like a
to
lot
5
to me.
inches.
3
and
to
it
5
is a
inches.
lot.
Like if you think 5 inches, that's like from your rear end to your belly button.
Exactly.
Basically.
It is a lot. And that extra length creates more looping and twisting. And so things are more likely to get stuck. And that's one of the main reasons women tend to be so much more bloated and constipated. The reason why is to allow for more fluid absorption during pregnancy. So fluid, the colon does 2 things. It gets the products of digestion from north to south. Well, it does more than 2 things, but 2 big things. And then it also reabsorbs water from the inside, from the stool, through the lining of the colon into the bloodstream. So the reason that women have a slightly longer colon is so that when we are pregnant, we can reabsorb more water through the colon to maintain the amniotic fluid.
Let me just see if I can extract that so that those of us without your amazing medical knowledge and degrees understand this. Because I think that's fascinating. So did you just say that one of the things that your colon is doing is when the waste is moving through your colon, the colon is actually removing water
Yes.
and moisture from the waste matter and recycling that water through your body so that as a woman, you can make the amniotic fluid, you can do other things that are part of the reproductive cycle?
100%. And so if you were to go up into a colonoscopy as somebody is having a bowel movement, which I don't recommend, we like to have the colon cleaned out when we're doing that. What you would see is that when the stool hits the top of the colon, it's liquid.
What?
It's liquid and it's green. It's bilious fluid. And as it moves through the 5 to 7 feet of colon at the end, the fluid gets reabsorbed so that what comes out at the end is a beautiful Mel Robbins stool nirvana, chocolatey brown, gorgeous. We need to make some t-shirts for you that say, I have great poops.
Oh my God.
Like
I don't know if I want people looking in the toilet and going, that looks like Mel Robbins right
That's a
there.
Mel Robbins
smiling right back at
special.
you. Yes.
So at the end, you get this chocolatey brown thing. So how do you turn liquid green at the top of the colon to solid brown at the bottom? The colon reabsorbs the fluid and all the bacteria that are primarily in the colon. You have bacteria throughout your whole GI tract, but they're concentrated at the bottom. The bacteria get dumped in, the dead bacteria, and the dead red blood cells, and that turns it brown. And so that process happens in the colon. The absorption of nutrients, the vitamin A, D, E, and K, the iron, all that stuff gets absorbed upstream in your small intestine. So the function of the colon, transport the products, reabsorb water, ferment the products of digestion with all the gut bacteria so that you end up with a chocolatey brown stool.
This is fascinating.
So the longer colon is just reason number 1. Reason number 2, why we're more bloated and constipated, is that we have a deeper, wider pelvis. The female pelvis is called a gynecoid pelvis, and the male pelvis is an android pelvis. What that means is that our colon falls deeper down into the pelvis where it has to compete for space. What else is in the pelvis? Your uterus, your fallopian tubes, your ovaries, your bladder. That's a lot of hardware. In men, they just have a prostate gland that's about the size of a walnut. So there's much more room. If you look at 2 skeletons side by side, male and female, you can tell the pelvis is like wings and the male is straight. And again, what's the reason? Childbearing, so that we can accommodate a whole human being down there. So that's reason number 2. So these are both sort of anatomical reasons, right? Longer colon, deeper, wider pelvis. Reason number 3, we have lower testosterone levels. Okay, well, what does that mean? Testosterone does a lot of things. And again, it's not that we don't have any, but we have less. And one of the things testosterone does is it makes the muscles in the body kind of stronger, more rigid. Mm-hmm. So men have a tighter abdominal wall because they have more testosterone. So even a man with a big bear belly, he'll complain about having a bear belly, but he won't complain about being bloated because underneath his bear belly is a nice tight Spanx. And we've got a stretched out Spanx because of the lower testosterone levels. So these three things really conspire to bloat and constipate us. And if you look at the medical literature, you'll see all these articles about why colonoscopy is harder in women. It takes longer. We require more sedation. And that's true, but it's not because we have a lower pain threshold. It's because we have all these anatomical things that, are there for a reason. They're not a design flaw, but they also conspire to make us more backed up.
Can we talk a little bit about constipation?
Oh, I love talking about constipation.
Why do you love talking about constipation?
Constipation is so satisfying because there's so many different things that cause it. And often people are dealing with 2 or 3 things. And when people feel better, it's like, they're so happy. And the other reason I love treating constipation, sorry to interrupt, is because bloating is constipation's fellow traveler. And so when people are constipated, they're almost always bloated because they're just plugged. And so when you relieve the constipation, you de-bloat them. And they're thrilled. And the other thing is, a lot of people who are bloated don't even realize they're constipated. You can have a bowel movement every single day and still be constipated. You can have 2 bowel movements a day and be constipated if you are having something called incomplete evacuation, tenesmus. And tenesmus is like the new insomnia. So think about it. When we think about insomnia, we think, okay, I have trouble falling asleep. But most people who have insomnia don't have trouble falling asleep. They go to sleep fine, but they wake up and they can't go back to sleep. I mean, I know that's my issue. I go right to sleep and then I pop awake and I start ruminating and I can't go back to sleep. Well, constipation, tenesmus is kind of like that. It's not that you're not going. You're having a bowel movement, but it's incomplete. And you can tell that your colon isn't empty. You've got that like,
that kind of feeling like,
I still got something on the launch pad. Yeah. And often it's a schmerry wipe because when you wipe and there's still a lot of stool on it, that's because there's stool still in the rectum that hasn't come out. So you don't have that good clean wipe where it's like, look, nothing on the toilet paper. That's part of stool nirvana is a clean wipe.
So you said that there were lots of different
Yes.
causes and lots of different things you can do. So can you walk us through the things that cause constipation that might surprise people?
It's very similar to the irritable bowel syndrome, to the IBS classification. So mechanical. Do you have a voluptuous venous colon? Do you have fibroids? Have you had surgery and you have scar tissue? Do you have a prolapsed bladder or rectum? So what's going on mechanically? Medicine cabinet, I think I beat that horse to death. And then hormones. Do you have potentially undiagnosed hypothyroidism? Do you have, are you early menopause and now you're more constipated because of that? And remember, perimenopause starts like 10 years before you stop having your period. So could it be a hormonal problem? Could it be a physiological motility problem? And the motility is very tied to the composition of the gut bacteria. So believe it or not, antibiotics that you took 10 years ago and affected your microbiome can now be causing your gut to slow down or go too fast and not function properly.
I have somebody that I love that is chronically constipated and will go 4 or 5 days. And that is consistently what their experience is.
And what do you think the reasons are? Have you done any sleuthing?
I have. And it's a very healthy person, exercises all the time, has a very clean diet, does not take not a lot of medication, young. And I personally think it is an issue with the muscles and not somehow training yourself to clench when you should be releasing.
It's a huge category, and I'm so glad you brought it up because I had overlooked that when we were talking about it. So
can you describe what this means? Because I think for people that also have you're shy about pooping
it's
around
shy
people.
Bowel. The medical terms are things like anismus, and some of these are pelvic floor issues. And I know you've had pelvic floor people on, but it is tightening when you should be releasing. And what we're talking about here now isn't really a pelvic floor issue. It is a muscular issue, and it's exactly what you said. Shy bowel, the technical term is parcopresis. It's also called psychogenic fecal retention. And it's classified as a psychiatric problem, but there's some really important physiological things that make me think it's misclassified as a psychiatric problem.
So could somebody have constipation and you actually have shy bowel? Like
100%.
you get in there and you're so constipated and you're like, why can't I get, like,
common.
And then as you're like stressing and tensing, you're actually in this almost like traumatic response to pooping because you're so stressed about being constipated. Is this like a thing?
It's the immediate stress, but more so, it is what happened before. So people who tend to hold their poo in, so you have to have a bowel movement, but you're in the subway and there's not a good bathroom, or you don't have time. You're at the airport and you're worried that your flight's going to board without you, or you're at school and the bathroom's gross and there's space between the door and people can see and hear and smell and, there's noise associated with it. It's one of the most important things for bowel hygiene is to not have stalls. Because even people, like I am the least shy about bowel movements, but I mean, I don't want to have a bowel movement in public, but I don't care. I'll be in the stall talking to you. That's not really normal. Most people do not want to be in a bathroom with 4 stalls, having a bowel movement, talking to somebody on the other side of the door. They're like, no, they want privacy. Having a bathroom where you have a toilet and a door that closes and not stalls, hugely helpful for good bowel habits, because a lot of people will be comfortable going to the bathroom in that setting. So you have these 2 muscles. You have the internal sphincter, which is under involuntary control.
Meaning it's going all the time. It's pushing
clenched
matter.
tight. It's clenched tight to prevent leakage.
Yep.
And then you have the external sphincter, which is under voluntary control. And that's the one that you open or close, depending on whether you're trying to push a stool in or out. Now, when the rectum fills with stool, the internal sphincter relaxes to let the stool out. And that's when your external sphincter is supposed to push it out. But if you decide, oh, this isn't, I don't like the look of this bathroom, I'm at a train station, I'm going to wait. You're clenching when you should be releasing, and that completely confuses the sphincters.
So you can train yourself to hold it in and not realize you're doing that?
100%. So that creates something called reverse peristalsis, where the stool is going back up in the wrong direction instead of coming out. And so if you do that often enough, and often this happens in children, it's more common in girls, we tend to be a little bit more fastidious about where we use a bathroom. If you do that often enough, it means that when you actually want to have a bowel movement, you can't because the sphincter is confused. Like the internal sphincter relaxes, but now the external sphincter is clenching. My best advice for people is if you have tried everything for your constipation, you did the fiber and the water and this and that, and you exercise and you do all these things and nothing is working, consider some of these mind-body practices, whether it's cognitive behavioral therapy or it's internal biofeedback, which is a kind of physical therapy. Find a biofeedback practitioner. It could make a huge difference. And the keys for me, one clue is on the rectal exam. I'll say, oh yeah, this person definitely has anismus. And another clue is when somebody says, I've done all of these things, and not only is it not working, it's making me more bloated because the sphincter at the very bottom is tight. And so all the fiber and the water and everything is all backed up right at the back door, but the door won't open.
Today, you and I are going to talk about something that we have all experienced. Maybe you're experiencing it at this very moment. What is the topic? We're talking about bloating. And there's a particular reason why I wanted to talk about bloating today. And the reason is simple. I am so freaking bloated right now. I'm uncomfortable. See, here's what happened. The last couple weeks, I have been on the road for work. And I've been going from one city to the next city. And I've been giving speeches and having business meetings. And it's been really great. And I want to tell you a little secret. This is like a travel secret, little travel tip, that when I travel for work, I always just travel with a carry-on. And you may be asking yourself, well, Mel, if you have been traveling for 2 weeks, how the heck can you go to multiple cities with a carry-on? Well, the secret is simple. I wear the same outfit to every speech and every business meeting. I swear to God, I travel with a uniform. And if you ever look at any of the stories on Instagram, you will notice, wow, Mel always has on the same pair of red pants and the black shirt whenever she's giving her speech. It's true. I have this stretchy pair of red pants that I love that are made out of polyester. And I have this great black Oxford shirt that is also made out of polyester. And I wear it on stage and I wear it to business meetings and it looks fantastic. And the other thing that's fantastic about polyester is that when you get to a hotel room, if you hang a polyester pair of pants up in a shower and you run a shower, within about 15 minutes, the steam of a shower in a hotel room cleans it like a dry cleaner. Absolutely fabulous. So here I am. I'm on the road and I've got my red polyester pants. And on Monday, I put the red pants on. They felt great. On Tuesday, I'm in Nashville to give a speech, put the red polyester pants. They felt great. Wednesday, put the red polyester pants on in Chicago. They felt great. On Thursday, I put the red polyester pants on in Orlando for a speech. They felt great. Friday, when I put the red polyester pants on, not so great, everybody. I mean, I couldn't button them. And when I looked down, I realized I have the pants here. You can see them if you look at YouTube. This poor button is hanging on by a thread for dear life. Like I'm talking, it has a singular thread because the tension on the waistband on this poor little button over the course of the last week has basically acted like a saw, slowly sawing apart the threads that were attaching the button to the pants. That button was the hardest working person in my company for the last 5 days. And I don't know what happened. Because I take care of myself when I'm on the road. It's not like I'm downing Jim Beam or I'm like out late. I get a great night's sleep. I travel with friends. We're having a lot of fun. I love what I'm doing, but I kid you not. I will show you photos of me on that Friday. I look like I'm in the second trimester of a pregnancy. I have a food baby that looks like a basketball right in my stomach. And here's the thing. I know that I didn't gain weight. I mean, because you can't gain 7 to 10 pounds in 5 days. But somehow I gained the equivalent of that in bloating. And so I finally got home here and I'm like, I have to figure out what to do because I am either going to be belching for 2 weeks or farting this out. And neither one is a great option. And I feel terrible. And I don't want to wear sweatpants for the next, 4 weeks while I'm waiting for the bloating to go down. And so I was just about to Google, how do you get rid of a bloat? 5-day reset. And I thought, Mel, what are you doing? Why don't you call Dr. Amy Shaw? I mean, Dr. Amy Shaw, as you probably know, if you're a listener to the Mel Robbins podcast, she's been on this twice before. She is a double board certified medical doctor in the field of allergies, immunology, and internal medicine. She graduated magna cum laude from Cornell University's world-renowned School of Nutrition. She went on to receive her doctorate with distinction. She's trained at Harvard, at Columbia, and she is on the front line of nutritional and medical science. She's been on this show before. She's incredible. And her best-selling book, I'm So Effin' Hungry, Why We Crave, What We Crave, and What to Do About It. It is the manual on trying to balance your hormones and understand the science of nutrition so that you can curb your cravings. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you going to Google when you can get Dr. Shaw on? And Dr. Shaw can explain what is bloating, why does it happen, and more importantly, what is the protocol? Like, what could you do in, let's say, 5 days? Is there a 5-day reset that you and I could follow so that whenever you feel bloated because of what you ate or because of stress or because of whatever the heck is going on, you know what to do? And so that's what we're doing today. And I also know that this conversation, we're planning on releasing it right during the holidays. And so you're going to be in the thick of it. You're going to be in the thick of all those amazing meals and the stress of the holidays and the drinking and the travel and the this and the that. And so wherever it is that you're coming to this conversation, we got a seat at the table for you. And you can have your pants buttoned or not. You can have on your red pants with your food baby. You can have on your soft pants with your sweatpants on. Everybody is welcome here because every single one of us at some point in our lives feels bloated. And for me, it's today. And what we're going to do today is we're going to hear from the amazing Dr. Amy Shah. What are we going to do about this? So please help me welcome Dr. Amy Shah back to the Mel Robbins podcast.
So grateful to be here with you, Mel.
Can we just start with what the heck is bloating?
Bloating is so many things. It's the feeling of distension in your abdomen. But everybody thinks it's just from gas. Yes, it is from gas, but it can also be from your hormones. It can be like water retention. It can be from medications causing discomfort. It can be just from being constipated. You know, we all go through that where we're bloated, not because there's gas, but there's actual stool in there. So, and then menopause bloating, right? That's like even more so than the regular PMS bloating. There's a whole menopause bloating. So we have, and there's so many other causes of bloating. So it's not just you ate too much or you ate too many Brussels sprouts or broccoli, which we can talk about. It's also, it can be from so many other things.
Well, you said a big word just a minute ago. You said distended. That bloating is when your stomach is distended. What does that word mean?
So when your belly is pushing out, so from the inside. So you can have, like I said, it can be from stool. It can be from air. It can be from hormones causing water retention. And we all know how, I don't know about you, but when right before my period, I look like I'm pregnant. Okay. So all of that is distension inside. So this could be the wall of the intestines like swollen. Or it could be there's gas inside, or it could be there's stool or food inside. And that's why it's distended. So there's so many different ways, but it feels kind of the same.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for explaining that, because I'm trying to really help myself and anyone listening tease out the difference between, oh, my habits have changed and I'm gaining a lot of weight versus, oh, I've got something going on where from the inside out, it's almost like I feel like somebody has blown a balloon up inside of me full of something. I know this might sound like an insensitive question, but I have to ask this. How do you know if you're bloated versus you've just let your eating slide and you're gaining weight?
Yeah, it's hard to tell sometimes the difference, right? Because, you know, you go on a week-long binge, it's say the holidays or you're on vacation and you come back and it's almost like a combination of multiple things. You're retaining water because you traveled a lot, you drank a lot, maybe you ate a lot of salt, and then your gut bacteria are mad at you. Remember, there is this world that lives inside your gut called the microbiome, and they're just mad and they're producing all this gas to let you know that they're mad. And then you probably ate a lot of excess calories for that period of time. So it could be a combination of all three. And you won't know until you start to reset your gut what is actually happening, because the water weight will go away pretty quick. You know, if you're constipated, pretty much hopefully can resolve that. And then once you get your diet back on track, you might notice that the scale is starting to go down. So all of these things start to resolve themselves together.
You know, why don't I back up a minute? Because here's what I'm starting to wonder. In reaching out to you, Dr. Shah, I had a food baby. I could not button my pants. And it happened so fast over the course of 5 days that I knew that this was bloating. But can you explain what are the symptoms that might surprise someone to hear that you may be bloated and dealing with extra gas or really mad gut bacteria?
You're burping a lot. Obviously farting, because farting and bloating go really hand in hand. You're constipated. That's a good sign. That's not a good sign, but that's a sign that you are bloated. Because often when you have a lot of gas in your intestines, you can't push that stool out. And you might not just be bloated in your gut. You might be one of those people who's retaining fluid everywhere. Have you ever had that issue where your rings don't fit anymore, or your bracelets get tight, or your shoes feel like they're like getting tight? That's basically what's happening in your intestines is happening all over your body. So that's another sign that this could be bloating and water retention, and not necessarily like you gained a bunch of weight.
Huh. Well, I want to tell you a couple things. Number one, I don't ever sleep with jewelry on because my hands swell so much. And same thing when I exercise. Like if I'm going to go out for a long walk, I don't wear my rings because my hands swell. And at the end of the day, my feet are typically like a half size larger. I never thought that that could be a sign of bloating, or a sign that my body is inflamed. Yeah. And then the other thing I'll tell you is just a quick story, because it might help you listening to start to discern what you may be dealing with. I'd say about 6 years ago, when our daughter Kendall was in high school, she always was a big burper, like just these deep, just loud kind of burps. And she was such a little thing that it was so shocking how loud these burps were. And it was almost like a joke in our family, like, Kendall. And then she started to say, Dr. Shaw, she would go, I feel so fat. She was not using the B word. She was using, I feel so fat, so fat. And because she was so thin, I thought, oh my God, she's got body dysmorphia. So I took her to a therapist, because I thought, as she is, saying she feels fat, and I'm looking at her and I'm like, you don't look fat to me. You look pretty darn skinny. This therapist said, I think you should get her gut tested, because I think she's dealing with disordered eating. I think she's got body dysmorphia. She says, no, you should get her gut tested. It turns out, when they tested her gut, that she was missing all of the good bacteria in her gut. And that what was happening is the food would go down her mouth and down her esophagus and down into the stomach. And all of a sudden it would hit her stomach. And because she had literally no good gut bacteria, the food sat and rotted. And so the burping was from rotting food. And it was disgusting. And the belching, the constant belching was her trying to relieve the pressure, and her saying, I feel fat, I feel fat, I feel fat, was really her trying to explain, I am bloated. And so we went and did this protocol of resetting her gut microbiome, and all the symptoms disappeared. And so this is a very real thing that you may be dealing with and be feeling symptoms other than a food baby. And your gut health is really the issue that's causing all this. Because, I was explaining earlier that I really wanted to talk to you because I had been traveling for the last couple of weeks, and I wear the same pair of pants. That's my little travel secret. I wear the same outfit everywhere I go. And so the pants that I was wearing on Monday fit. They fit on Tuesday. They fit on Wednesday. They fit on Thursday, although I'll tell you, that poor little button holding my red pants together was the hardest working person in the room. I have my little red pants right here.
Oh, do you have them?
But by Friday, I had a food baby. Like I literally looked like I was 6 to 7 months pregnant. It was a balloon coming out, and I had to do the trick where you unbutton your pants and you stick a rubber band through the opening and hook it to extend your pants. And I thought, okay, I can't gain 7 pounds in 5 days because I can't lose 7 pounds in 5 days, right? Like this is not just a norm.
Yeah.
So maybe what we should talk about, since you're basically saying when you're bloated, your gut bacteria is mad at you.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's kind of is that the basic thing that's going on here?
It is the basic thing that's going on. That gut hormone immune connection. I mean, that is when that's off balance, you get all these symptoms. People think, oh my God, it's hormone bloating, or oh my God, it's coming from something else. But really, it's because your gut bacteria are not happy. It's not only related to food, it can be related to other things. But when they're not happy, they're going to let you know.
Okay. Like what foods actually could bloat you?
Okay, well, first of all, I want to give you the biggest tip, just to take a step back. The biggest tip when you're feeling bloated or distended is don't wear those red pants with the button on them. Like I can't tell you how many times I've traveled and, you get bloated because of the change in the air pressure. You're not able to go to the bathroom for a couple of days. It's like all of these things. You need stretchy pants for your travel. You need to swap those red pants out for something with a little more give. And I get it. Like, it's nice to wear some tight fitted pants, especially if you want to look cute, but for the travel day, wear the stretch pants. Okay.
Got it. Okay. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause for Triple Bird certified Dr. Amy Shaw, who just told us all, soft pants, people, soft pants. You're traveling, you're feeling bloated. Let's get rid of the zippers and the buttons, soft pants. So I got it. I'm taking it away. I am following it.
Yeah.
And where, like you talked about the intestines and the stomach, is that where this is happening, or are there other parts of your body involved when bloat is happening to you?
Yeah. From the minute you take food in, right, you're chewing your food, the bloating can start to happen there. We all know with gum, with sparkling drinks, these are foods that can cause bloating because you're swallowing a lot of air
Wait, what?
from the time you put it in your mouth. Did you know
Gum causes bloating?
Yeah. Did you not know this?
No.
So
sparkling beverages causes bloating?
Yeah.
What?
I didn't. So yeah, you need to know this. This is why I'm telling you, this is the reset. So sugar-free gum, which is all gum now, right? You can't really get gum. I think Bazooka used to be like our gum when we were younger that had real sugar, but now it's all sugar substitute gum. And those sugar substitutes are very irritating to our gut bacteria. And just the act of swallowing a lot of air, when chewing gum can kind of push that air down into all the way. It's one tube, right? So from your mouth to the esophagus, to the stomach, to the small intestine and the large intestine. So it's all one tube. So it can start from up there. Then you have people like us who are always in a rush and always eating too fast. And so it can even be an issue with just eating too fast, and it's going through that one system, that one tube from your mouth to your anus too fast. And you're not taking breaks and you're not chewing enough. And so it starts with, it's not just a particular food, it's just that you're eating food too fast, right? And then you have foods like the foods that you consider super healthy: Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. And Mel, you're being a great student. You're like, I want to eat all the fiber in one day.
Yeah.
And that is going to create a havoc in your gut, because your gut bacteria are going to be like, we love this fiber, but not all at once. It's like giving them too much work in one day, especially when they're not used to it. And so you're going to get a lot of gas production while they're trying to digest this. So it can happen in your mouth. It can happen in your esophagus because you're eating too fast. It can happen in your stomach because you ate too many really hard to digest fibrous foods. It can happen in your small intestine and then in your large intestine too. So it's like all the way through. You can get bloating from different causes.
Okay. Can we just stop on that? I have so many questions. I'm trying not to go all over the place, because now you've sparked my interest, because all those things you ticked off, I did not know that sparkling beverages, gum, or eating all these things that I would say are super healthy foods like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cabbage and that kind of stuff, that actually can contribute to bloat. So thank you for explaining that. I want to focus on the foods that you just mentioned: cabbage, broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. Let's just call the trifecta right there, because if I hear you correctly, you're basically saying if you're already bloated and you throw that into your system, you're going to literally inflate the balloon even more.
Yes.
However, when you debloat and you get your gut back into balance so that your gut bacteria aren't mad at you anymore, introducing those into your diet, not as a smorgasbord, but as part of what you're eating, is part of keeping the gut bacteria healthy. Is that correct?
That's right. So
okay,
if you're at a party and there's this like raw cruciferous vegetable plate, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, I don't know why people.
Cruciferous? What is that?
Those are that's the family that we're talking about: the cauliflowers, the broccoli, the Brussels sprouts, the cabbage. So a lot of times
those four are related. So they're like siblings, the cruciferouses.
cruciferous family. And they have these amazing sulfur compounds that are so good for like cancer reduction and inflammation reduction. So they're like powerhouse vegetables. But often at a party, they're like on a tray, like raw, right?
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I have had a few too many of those at once. And you definitely feel it. So what I would say, if you're already bloated, don't go to the raw vegetable tray and pick up the cauliflower and the broccoli, because you're just going to really hate yourself later that night, because it's going to start to digest and produce all this gas.
And I'll tell you who else is going to hate you. The person you're sleeping next to, because you're going to be lifting the sheets up as you're farting so you don't create like a hot box in there. But you know what's great about you telling us that is because if I'm feeling uncomfortable in my pants and if I'm feeling bloated, especially, if you're in like wedding season or the holiday seasons or you're on a vacation, I would walk up to a raw vegetable plate and I would go, oh, I should clearly have some broccoli and some cauliflower because I feel bloated right now. And I didn't know until you just said it that would literally stoke the flames and make me feel worse if I'm already feeling bloated and my gut bacteria is mad. So what do I eat instead?
Okay. And then I want to tell you another one.
Okay.
That will do the same thing. So say you're at a party and you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, I feel so bloated. I feel hungover or whatever. I feel bad. And you take a whole bunch of ibuprofen or aspirin, right? That is going to make you more bloated. And a lot of people,
this is my morning routine after a party. What are you talking about?
So medications are a big cause of bloating, especially NSAIDs. So
what's an NSAID? What do you mean an NSAID?
Ibuprofen and Motrin and naproxen. Those are kind of a class, again, cousins in a group of medications called NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medication. So NSAIDs all have kind of the same mechanism of action. So, some people like naproxen, some people like ibuprofen, some people like Motrin, and all these different versions, but they're all the same parent medication. Same with aspirin. Aspirin's very similar to all of them. But their side effect is bloating. And so you ate a bunch of cruciferous vegetables, you took a bunch of ibuprofen, and it's the week before your period, and then you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I look 6 months pregnant. And that's what is happening. And so I'm going to tell you what you need to do to kind of reset that.
So let's talk about your 5-day gut reset protocol. Hey. What are we doing, Dr. Shaw?
So every day we're doing the 3 F's. Okay. So every morning you're going to wake up no matter what, whether you're doing the gut reset protocol or not. Every day you're going to do the fasting, the fitness, and the fiber fermented foods. That's goes without saying.
Okay.
When you start on the 5-day reset, the first day, in addition to what you've already done in the morning, you're going to add exercise. And it's the first E of the 4 different E's that we're going to be doing. And the last day, we're going to add all of the E's together. So it's like, exercise is the first E. Okay. And exercise, for all the reasons we already talked about, your gut bacteria get happy. It's the best probiotic that you could ever do. And when you start moving your body, all of that distension starts to move, because whether it's fluid, whether it's a food baby, whether it's, stool in there, whether it's,
just a lifetime of chronic overeating and making terrible choices, or doing keg stands, or going to 17 weddings this summer. Regardless of how you're coming to the table, you're welcome. And we're going to start this protocol by adding in exercise. And does it matter what exercise you do during the 5-day reset?
No, it doesn't matter. Just move your body, because let's be honest, any kind of exercise is good exercise. Now, if you want to add in yoga because you get the twisting, amazing, because we know that physically twisting your gut is going to help release some of that gas and some of that fluid retention and get things moving. So I love things like yoga to add when you're exercising, but more walking. So say you walked in the morning, walk in the evening. Again, weight training, as you know, and I know, we lose about 1 to 3% of muscle mass each decade as women. And during menopause, that speeds up to almost double. And so getting that body moving, lifting weights. Okay. So exercise is number one.
Okay. Day 2.
Day 2, eliminate, E. So the second E is eliminate. So what that means is that food elimination diet we talked about, you're going to start doing that. So take out dairy, gluten, white sugar, whatever you think may be triggering. So for some people that could be nuts, for some people that can be shellfish, some people it can be corn, but usually it's gluten, dairy, and sugar. If you're not sure, just take those 3 out. Okay. That's eliminate. That's day 2.
Okay. Day 3.
Day 3, you're going to start eating foods your gut bacteria loves. The stuff we've already talked about, the things that are going to help your body, recover from this crazy thing that you put your gut through. So it's going to be that spinach, that asparagus. It's going to be that fruit, that bromelain from that pineapple, that papaya that has a digestive enzymes in there that help you digest it. So you're going to add foods back that your gut bacteria love. So yogurt is another one.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What protein is better for your gut than other in terms of like types of meat or fish or beans or lentils? Like what is the kindest protein to make for a happy gut?
So if you're not plant-based, then egg protein is nicely digested by a lot of people. Doing an egg scramble or doing fish is a good way to get your protein. But if you're plant-based, then you could do beans, but make sure they're soaked, like black beans soaked are really gentle on their stomach. Whereas certain beans that if you don't soak them, they can be gas producing. Tofu is a nice thing to eat when you're trying to get that. And of course, like I said, yogurt, probiotic yogurt and cottage cheese are awesome ways to get that protein. That's not necessarily meat, but it's a dairy-based high protein food that you can have. And then of course, nuts. Although nuts aren't necessarily the biggest source of protein, they do have some protein in them. And so having that protein, but protein in general is a great way to keep your gut bacteria happy and satisfied as well. So that's a really your gut loves protein. What it doesn't love is fake protein. Do you know what I mean? Like those shakes,
fake
and
meats
bars and fake meats and like all the fake stuff. Like when you have a protein shake, I don't know about you, but I immediately get bloated.
Yes,
my body does
much.
not like processed protein. So the shakes and the bars, and we all are busy. I eat protein bars and shakes like we have to. It's part of our busy lives. But when you're trying to reset, try to have the protein in its whole form, because that's going to be the kindest thing that you can do to your body. You don't want to exacerbate the issue.
Now, I noticed you didn't say locally raised meats, chicken, lamb. Would you not want to eat meat during this 5-day period?
The studies on meat have become very controversial, as you know. Okay. But a new study came out, and this is becoming a really big thought. It's that we used to think that meat in general was very inflammatory and that your gut was very inflamed with meat. But there's new data that show that maybe it's not necessarily the meat itself. Maybe it's the type of meat that you're eating. Like, is it fast food meat versus meat? So the meat story remains to be pieced out. But if you're eating something that's super healthy, locally raised, not full of antibiotics, not from, your local fast food place, this is going to be a nice source of protein. And as I said, our biggest goal is to make that gut bacteria happy. And although fiber and fermented is the number one goal, we said protein is also the goal. And so getting that, but it's a very nuanced conversation, because you basically could argue still the bulk of the research still shows that red meat, or especially processed red meat, is probably inflammatory to the gut and causes all kinds of issues. But things are changing. So I would say it's like a complicated answer. If you enjoy it, it's doing good for your body, you're feeling healthy, that's a great thing to add to your diet.
Okay. I just want to recap for everybody. So the 5-day reset One of the things that you're doing is Dr. Amy Shaw's morning routine, which are the 3 F's. And so you're going to do this every morning, which is the 12-hour fast before you have your first meal. It is the fitness, and then it is a breakfast that includes some sort of fibrous and fermented food because that makes your gut bacteria happy. Day 1, you're going to add in exercise, meaning in addition to the fitness walk in the morning, you're going to add in a little yoga, a little something else. Day 2, you're going to start an elimination of dairy, gluten, and white sugar. Day 3, you're going to be adding in and eating the kind of food that your gut bacteria loves, which we're learning all about. And what is the E that we add in on day 4, Dr.
I
Shaw?
love this E because you're going to love it too. The E is for enjoy. So when we're in our stressed and opposite of enjoyment, right, is when you're stressed and anxious, you can't digest and you can't heal from what what's just happened to your body. And a lot of people, they come back from a vacation or holidays and they're so stressed and they're punishing themselves by doing all these crazy diets and cleanses and exercises, and it's making things worse. You actually need to go back and spend time with people who are good for your mental health because they're also good for your gut health. Okay. These gut bacteria, just like we said, we want to make them happy. They are super happy when you're spending time with people who make you feel your best. And it's so crazy to think, but they love bonding. Bonding is a love language for your gut bacteria. They love it. So you want to enjoy yourself. So it's spending time with people you love. It's dancing. It's, doing something that lights your brain, body on fire. That's like, you're so passionate about. Enjoyment is like one of the things that people don't realize that can be so healing to our body, not just our gut, but our entire body.
Got it. Okay. What do we do day 5?
We're putting it all together. We're doing.
Tell me what that means.
All of these. So in the morning, you're waking up, you're checking if you fasted for 12 hours, wait 12 hours before you eat your first meal. Then you're going for your fitness right after that. Then you're coming back and you're like, oh, time to eat. You're going to have, a big scramble with veggies, yogurt, and berries on the side. And you're going to have your ginger tea because you're trying to eat the foods that are great for your body. So high protein, high fiber, fermented food breakfast. And then you are going to maybe go for a yoga class or do some stretching or exercises again later in the day. That is going to help you. You're going to be on this elimination diet journey. It's not one day. You're not going to know what things you're sensitive to. Our gut microbiome maybe doesn't even respond for a few days. You'll have to do this, extend this for as many as 3 weeks for some people to really find out what their true food sensitivities, but at least 1 week you want to be doing the elimination. And then you want to eat foods all day that your body loves. Like this is not the time to maybe have your artificially sweetened, snacks and chips and crackers and fast food. This is time to eat really healthy whole foods. Maybe you'll have a spinach salad and you'll have a bowl of fruit on the side. These are that's your eat. And then do something, bond with someone. Go out for a walk with a friend. Go have coffee with someone that you haven't seen in a long time, a mentor, a friend, a colleague, your loved one. Spend time with your dog, your baby. Do something you love. Maybe you're doing some creative writing, and that is like the perfect day at the very end. And that's like, if you did all the things and you put it all into one day, that would be the day.
Now, how long do I have to do this before I'm going to start to feel like the bloating is going down and my gut bacteria is happy and healthy again?
I'm so excited to tell you this because there's actually research behind this. It's as little as 3 days. 3 days. You could start feeling on day 3, you could start feeling like, wow, you know what? My mood is better. My bloating feels better. My cravings are gone. And then after, it keeps going. It just starts at 3 days, but in 2 weeks, you should be markedly better. So I love saying 3 days because to me, 3 days feels so doable and it's backed by science. We saw a study where they took people and they rapidly changed their diet. And they said, okay, we're going to rapidly change your diet from a fast food, crazy processed diet to the super healthy gut loving diet. And we're going to see how long it takes for your gut microbiome to completely transform. And they expected 2 weeks and they saw it in 3 days.
I'm so happy you said that because this conversation is going to release during the holidays. And I don't know about you listening, but I freaking love the holiday food. And particularly here in the US, the Thanksgiving fare, I have 4 or 5 helpings of the turkey with the stuffing and the mashed potato and this cranberry jello thing that we've always made in my family. And I just love it. And then I love the leftovers. And I think what happens for me is I do feel like I have a food baby and I feel discouraged. And so I do these extreme things and then they don't really work. And then I feel more discouraged. And so hearing that you can leverage science and you can follow this reset and you can understand the greater context of this. And if you simply stick with it for these 3 to 5 days, you'll likely start to feel better because you're using the science of all of this. That makes me feel more motivated, honestly. Because
yeah,
oftentimes,
me too.
because I felt after this week where the pants started out fitting at the beginning of the week. And at the end of the week, I kid you not, I could not even button these pants. And the pictures, I do look like I am in my second trimester of a pregnancy in these pants. And I felt like I was. And so I felt really discouraged because I thought, what is going on? Is this menopause? Is it stress? Is it travel? Is it, what is it? It's probably all of those things. Mm-hmm. But I now feel very empowered because this is something I can do. And when you tell me that there is research that says within 3 days, the studies show that you'll start to feel better if you follow this. Obviously, I can't, be downing a bottle of Jim Beam on top of this or, I got to really pay attention to all the things that you're talking about. Can't be taking Advil first thing in the morning while I'm doing my fast. This makes sense to me. One thing that you didn't mention was taking a probiotic.
Yeah.
Do you recommend that people take probiotics? And I realize that not all probiotics are created equally, but does taking a probiotic help if you're bloated?
Yeah. I mean, okay, this is how I would think of it. In our species in our gut is like the Amazon jungle. There's like thousands of different, hundreds, if not thousands of different species in there. And
of
when
probiotics?
You get of bacteria. Yeah. So a probiotic. Is
probiotic the same thing as a bacteria?
Yeah. So it's a probiotic is a bacteria that you take by mouth, right? So
okay.
A probiotic might have, say, hundreds of strains, right? But that's not even close to how many different types of bacteria are in your gut. So what the problem with probiotics today is that if you threw seeds from a plane into a barren land, right? You just threw them, not knowing what climate you were in, not knowing what the local kind of weather, soil was like. Some seedlings may come out of it, if you got lucky, but you don't know what you're doing. You're just throwing things at the wall and hoping something sticks, right? So the difference is when you eat probiotic foods like yogurt, like cottage cheese, like kimchi and sauerkraut, the bacteria come in a food matrix and they're delivered to your bacteria that already live there. Like, hey, look, I brought you some friends. And then for some reason, our body is just more likely to incorporate those guys into our existing ecosystem than they are when you throw a whole bunch of pills into your body.
That makes a lot of sense. I could listen to you all day because you know what? It makes so much sense. It does seem complicated when you're in the thick of it, but the way you explain it, it does seem so simple.
So in one way, it's overwhelmingly complicated science. I get it. But in another way, if you really understand that science, it leads to really simple, obvious, concrete solutions.
Because our audience is so hungry, tell me what to do. Dr. Palmer, tell me what to do. And I know ever since your work has become public and the institute at Harvard and McLean has been announced and you've been appearing on podcasts, I know that people from around the world are calling and begging you to work with them. And you are under an avalanche of people who just want your help. And I understand why. Because you are offering something that feels accessible. You are offering stories of hope. And so if I realize that this is not medical advice, but given that you've got thousands of people that call you every week begging you for medical advice, is it possible for you to give a broad stroke recommendation for people to follow, like for 1 month, for 21 days?
For people who are suffering from mild to moderate disorders, their safety is not in danger. They have not been suicidal. They haven't tried to hurt themselves or anyone else. They're not hallucinating or delusional. If I had to give generic advice, what's the highest bang for the buck? I would say try a ketogenic diet for 3 months, and then we'll see how it goes. We actually have a tremendous amount of science on the ketogenic diet. Most people know the keto diet as a fad diet, a weight loss diet, a dangerous diet. So unbeknownst to most people, the ketogenic diet was developed over 100 years ago by a physician for one and only one purpose. It was not weight loss. It was to actually stop seizures. The ketogenic diet is now an evidence-based treatment. We have lots of randomized controlled trials. We have gold standard meta-analyses in the medical literature proving that this is effective, it is reputable, it is legitimate. The ketogenic diet is an evidence-based treatment for treatment-resistant epilepsy. And what that means is that if somebody has seizures and medications don't stop their seizures, or even brain surgery doesn't stop their seizures, the ketogenic diet can often work in a way that medications and even brain surgery may not have worked for those people.
Why?
And so that's the beautiful thing for my research. So we have decades of research looking at the ketogenic diet, trying to figure out how on earth does this diet stop seizures when our great pills didn't? Like, what is going on here? And so we know that the ketogenic diet is having profound effects on the brain function. It's changing neurotransmitters. It changes gene expression. It decreases brain inflammation and body inflammation as well. Central to my thesis, it actually improves mitochondrial function, which in a nutshell means it's improving metabolism, and in particular, brain metabolism. And so one of the great things about the ketogenic diet, like when it's used for epilepsy, is that people don't have to do it for life. Most often, people only need to do it for like 2 to 5 years. That actually, quote unquote.
That sounds like a long time, honestly. 2 to 5 years of a particular. But what is it? Like, because you guys say keto this, keto that, keto ketosis, or whatever the hell the words are. What is the keto? Like, what am I eating? Walk me through a day of being on the keto diet.
So the keto diet in a nutshell is very low in carbohydrates, moderate in protein, and high in fat. So what you would eat if you were doing a ketogenic diet, again, I want to even set the stage. There are vegan versions of a ketogenic diet.
Okay.
Vegetarian versions. Omnivore versions where you're eating both animal-sourced and plant-sourced foods.
Okay.
And even kind of carnivore versions of this diet where all you're eating is meat and eggs and stuff like that.
So this is very inclusive, everybody. But let's just say you and I are going to breakfast, lunch, and dinner today. What are we ordering?
So what I might eat if I were eating a ketogenic diet, I am an omnivore. I eat both animal-sourced and plant-sourced foods. I would wake up and I might have eggs and bacon or sausage or some kind of meat.
Let's go. Sounds like Sunday brunch, Dr. Palmer.
I might add extra butter. If I need more fat, I might add extra butter to the eggs So some people might look at me making my eggs thinking, why are you putting all that butter in your scrambled eggs? And I would say, because I need the extra fat. For lunch, I would probably, and for lunch and dinner, similar meals, I would probably have a protein source. So that could be steak, chicken, salmon, poultry.
Yep.
And I would have low carb vegetables. So
Okay.
that could include broccoli, spinach, any kind of lettuces, cauliflower, cucumbers, pickles, things
Great.
like that.
Okay.
I would take my pick. When I prepared those vegetables, I would put extra sources of fat on those vegetables. So I would put olive oil and plain vinegar. So that might be my kind of serving. I might emphasize nuts and avocados because those are very high in fat, and typically thought of as healthy sources of fat.
So how long would you suggest that somebody, if they're going to start with the ketogenic diet, how long should you try it? And what would you look out for, Dr. Palmer, to know that it's actually impacting you in a positive way?
So I would recommend getting some information on a well-formulated ketogenic diet. So you want to do it right. You want to include enough healthy types of foods. People sometimes need extra electrolytes like sodium, potassium, magnesium when they get started on the diet. And nonetheless, there's this thing called the keto adaptation phase or keto flu. So the first week or two in particular can be very rough. I'm just going to let people know. People can feel weak, hungry, hangry, dizzy, irritable, other
Really?
things.
Why?
Because they're basically withdrawing from sugar or carbohydrates. More importantly, their body is trying to do this shift from burning primarily on carbohydrates to running on a combination of carbohydrates and fats as fuel sources. And for some people, that can be an easier transition. For others, it can be a more difficult transition.
So let's just say you get the keto flu. We're now on the other side of the keto flu. We're starting to perk up. What are you going to feel? And how do you know if it's working?
So the first thing that most people will start to feel is an antidepressant effect. And so they will start to notice that they just feel lighter. They have a little more energy. Their brain starts working a little better. Some people might notice that their sleep is feeling more restorative. So if there's somebody who usually has to use an alarm, push the snooze button several times, they might start to notice that it's easier to wake up in the morning. They get going faster than normal. Some people will notice, if you're a power lifter, for instance, or a weightlifter, you will notice a decline in your ability to lift weights for about 2 months. And it will come back. For people using this for mental health, it's usually not a lifelong diet.
What?
A lot of people will do it for 1 to 5 years. They actually reinvigorate their metabolism, or most importantly, what that means to me is that they're improving their mitochondrial health.
Yep.
And that actually can then persist so that you've actually done some healing work on your body. And so that if you go back to a whole foods, still a healthy diet, I'm not encouraging people to go back to a junk food diet with a lot of processed foods. But if they start adding back carbohydrates, even complex carbohydrates, whole grains or potatoes and other things, they may do extraordinarily well. And again, I want to be clear. I don't necessarily recommend the ketogenic diet for everyone. Not everybody needs it. Some people can just get rid of the junk food and the processed foods. Some people can just get rid of the extra sugar in their diet and do spectacularly well. So they might do well on a paleo diet or
Whole 30.
Whole 30 or a vegetarian or vegan, whole food, plant-based diet. There are lots of options.
Okay, great. So eating healthy. What's the next step in your brain energy protocol?
Try to exercise a little more than you're currently doing.
Is that all I have to do?
If
Like
you're-
if I'm doing 0, are you talking 1 day of resistance training is enough? Or would you want to see me out 3 days? Like
If
what
you're doing 0, do anything. So if you did 1 day of resistance training a week, but you did most of your major muscle groups and you did it to the point of failure, that would be more than enough. I love it. But you've got to go to failure. If you're only going to work out once a week, you've got to go to failure. We need to build those muscles, which means you're not just going to lift it a couple times and say, oh, I'm tired. You're going to go until you can't go anymore. Just 1 set, but you're going to go until you can't go anymore. But it could be just taking a walk after dinner every night. If you can do it every night, it doesn't have to be a long walk. It could be a 10-minute walk, whatever. Just get out of the house, get away from a screen, walk around the block. The third thing, I want you to prioritize sleep.
How much do I need?
You need at least 7 or 8 hours. The ideal way to know if you're getting adequate sleep is, are you able to get out of bed reasonably okay? Or are you pushing the snooze button? Are you exhausted? Are you dragging yourself out of bed? If you're dragging yourself out of bed, you're not getting enough sleep. You should be able to wake up and get out of bed, and it should not be torture. If it's torture, you're not getting enough sleep. Your body's begging you to stay in bed. You want to stay in bed. Well, you need more sleep. Go to bed earlier. That's the solution. You're probably waking up for a reason because you have to be somewhere, like work or school at a certain time. That means you needed to go to bed an hour or 2 hours or whatever earlier that night, the night before. So get your ass in bed, turn off the television,
You're Dr.
the
Palmer.
computer, whatever, go to bed. Try to get more sleep. Reduce your use of harmful substances. That means alcohol. If you're really struggling with a mental health condition, give me 3 months off alcohol. I'm not asking for a lifetime. I'm not asking for, forever. 3 months off alcohol, because we're trying to give your brain a chance. If you were a professional athlete training for a marathon, your coach would tell you no alcohol, none, zero tolerance. If you were training for the Olympics, your coach would tell you 0 alcohol. I don't want to hear it. Guess what else? No marijuana, no CBD, no smoking, no vaping. None. Period. End of story. Don't argue. Don't talk back. Just don't do it. Don't do those things. Why? Because they're all negatively impacting your brain metabolism. Your brain metabolism is begging for help. We see it in the symptoms that you're exhibiting. We want to give you a fighting chance. You can introduce these things again in the future when you're healthy, when you're healthier and more resilient and you can tolerate a drink every now and then, great. But for now, while we're trying to help you heal and recover, we're going to give your brain a fighting chance. We're going to do those things. We're going to give it 3 months, and then we're going to see how it's going. My honest guess is if people could really do that, it's a lot to ask, I know. And people may not be able to do it all at once.
But isn't your mental health and your happiness and the vitality that you feel and the peace that you feel worth it? I mean, it's 90 measly days. The ketogenic diet, get a good night's sleep, stop drinking and smoking for 90 measly days, and take a walk every night after dinner. That's what you're asking.
Yeah.
And you're saying, based on 30 years as a Harvard psychiatrist and the world's leading expert in the brain energy theory, which you created, and metabolic health, this should remarkably improve the way that you feel.
It will. I'm hearing from thousands of people around the world who are doing that alone, and they feel remarkably better. If it's helpful, I just want to say this. And when people are really severely depressed and down and out, they will say and they will think, why should I be alive at all. And now you're going to ask me to give up the one thing that gives me comfort, which is food or alcohol or vaping. Like, I kind of sort of don't even want to be alive anyway. And the only thing that gives me any bit of comfort for even 5 or 10 minutes are those things. I can't give those up. And what I say, I work with people like that all the time. And what I say to those people is, I'm only asking for 90 days. I'm not asking for a lifetime. I'm saying, do you want to try to feel better? Would you like to get out of this living hell that you are in right now? And is it worth a 90-day experiment? Almost always I can convince people to do it. Again, they may not be able to do it all at once. So maybe we have to work on diet first and then add in some exercise and then add in, let's get you off the vaping, and then add in the sleep.
But start with the diet.
So I would start with the diet, because the ketogenic diet can have profound effects on mood and energy. And when people just start to notice that little bit of improvement after the first or second week, that then gives them the energy to then give up the alcohol or the vaping, or to start walking when they felt like they couldn't walk before. It gives them that little bit of hope, and then they add those other interventions. 9 times out of 10, when I start people on the intervention, they will say, I'm definitely stopping all this crap in 90 days. Fine, Dr. Palmer, I'll do it for 90 days, but then I'm stopping. If I get them to 90 days and they are dramatically better, they will say, there's no way in hell I can go back to that living hell that I was just in. A few of them have gotten mad at me. You tricked me. Now I'm stuck on this diet. Now I'm stuck on giving up alcohol or vaping. Like, you tricked me. This wasn't the plan. And I'm like, but you feel better. And they're like, yes, I feel like a new person. I can't believe I feel so good. And I'm like, well, maybe a few years, and then you'll have more resilience and you'll be able to add those things back. What more often than not, what people find is that they feel so much better that they don't want to add those things back anymore, because they realize those things are going to make me go backwards, and I'm moving forward finally, and I'm feeling better.
Thank you for saying that, because I know that when you're really in a dark hole and you don't think you can get better, and you're being asked, like for Chris, it was hitting the vape pen every day, or hitting the weed pen every day, or drinking bourbon just to numb out. And I didn't even realize the extent of it until the diagnosis came in. The thought of facing it without those things was terrifying. And what's interesting as I was listening to you is I was thinking, you're not giving up weed or alcohol. You're giving up depression. And Dr. Palmer, you are offering the hope, and more importantly, the medically proven results that it can work.
It can.
Any final thing you want to say? Because there's a lot of people that are going to forward this to somebody in their life who has crippling anxiety or depression. And having been in that place myself, and having been married to somebody who is struggling, I'll tell you what, when you're in a dark place, you are a stubborn son of a gun. And so could you speak directly to that person right now who isn't listening to their family, doesn't want to hear it, has given up hope, as a Harvard psychiatrist with 30 years under your belt, having worked with thousands and thousands of people and even cured major mental illnesses with this approach? What would you say?
So I think I would actually want to speak to them not as the Harvard psychiatrist with all of those credentials that you just list. and not with all the scientific knowledge that I have that emboldens me to know that what I'm saying to you is true, but I would want to speak to that person as somebody who's been there myself, somebody who suffered relentlessly for years from crippling depression. I couldn't get out of bed. I wanted to kill myself. I tried to kill myself several times. I could not imagine a future for myself. I really assumed that I would be dead before I turned 20. And that was really all but certain in my mind, that there's no way I will be alive when I'm 20. And what I would say to people is, if I can get through that, because I really did believe that I would be dead, that I could not possibly live like this for the rest of my life. And it had been going on for years, since I was a young child. If I can get better, so can you. And you just have to believe. And you have, if you're a skeptic, if you're doubting any of this, there's so much science to back it up. And the reality is, you really can do it for 90 days, for 3 months. You can do it. I have patients with horrible, crippling schizophrenia who can do it. I have patients with bipolar disorder who can do it. I have patients with alcoholism and other diagnoses that can do it. And if they can do it, so can you.
Dr. Chris Palmer, changing the world.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.